Jalen, check out Kai Jones in Summer League.
Ooh, that is nasty. 19th pick out of Texas. Gonna be catching lobs from our guy, LaMelo Ball with the Hornets. Let's start the show.
He's Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do?
What up, though? We get the people what they want.
We have more Summer League action. We have some big NFL news, but we start with the gold medal Team USA men's basketball team led by none other than Kevin Durant. They beat France in the gold medal game behind another Kevin Durant performance. Oh, by the way, he also signed a 4-year, $198 million extension with the Nets. Jalen, did anyone have a better weekend than Kevin Durant?
Not at all. And not just the weekend, Jacoby, these past few months. And let's go back to the beginning of the pandemic. This delayed the NBA season. Players went into the bubble, and ultimately the Lakers became the champions. This all became extra rest for one Kevin Durant, who got an opportunity to rehabilitate his torn Achilles and not rush himself back in any way, shape, or form. Take the longest time of any player returning from that injury to actually play in an NBA game. And what has that done? Wonders for his confidence and reestablish him as not only obviously an elite scorer, but one of the top couple of players we have in the league, regardless of how you are grading. And so for the Bucks to win the championship, they went through the Nets in the process. Yes, they were banged up. Harden was injured. Kyrie was out. But Giannis is the offseason's valedictorian. He's number one in the class, okay? The way he balled, he made his free throws, he got a signature block, he got a signature lob. He brought the Bucks their first championship since the early 70s. But the salutatorian of the summer, that's Kevin Durant. How he played in the playoffs, the turnaround jumper over the left shoulder. We know if his feet were a half size smaller, they probably would have eliminated the Bucks even being shorthanded. And then now to play the way he's played in the Olympics, how about he's the only guy in the history of Team USA basketball to average 20 points during one Olympic run. He averaged 20, dog.
He's also scored more than anybody else in the history of Team USA. And I just want to say real quick, when they lost to France, I said they would not lose another game and they would win the gold medal. There was a lot of doubters out there, but David Jacoby had their back the entire time. And it was because of what Kevin Durant mentioned, the unmatched skill that they have, and specifically him. He had an amazing summer. I think in the wash of the Bucks championship, we forget just how good Kevin Durant was in the playoffs. But in regards to the Nets contract, I love this for the Brooklyn Nets because they secure him. Because if you remember, like, him, Harden, and Kyrie all could have left after a couple of years, but now you secure him for 4. Do you expect the other two, Harden and Kyrie, to also stay with Brooklyn long term?
I believe so, and it actually happened in reverse. That's why I brought up KD's injury, because that injury now led Kyrie to be the lead domino, because he was the one that actually signed with the Nets first, and then KD, and then they acquired James Harden. So now that KD has re-upped, you anticipate the other guys will do the same. And as you know, this is going to be great theater for the NBA for years to come.
Jalen, I'm going to do the media thing and completely overreact to like a couple good performances. I think this will be the year that Kevin Durant not only wins a gold medal, but also wins an NBA championship for Brooklyn. But we'll determine that in years. There's something else happening in the NBA that we need to shine a light on, and that is your Detroit Pistons are playing in the Summer League, and that means number 1 pick, Cade Cunningham, took the floor.
Basketball.
He didn't exactly tear it up, but it was good to see him in the Pistons uniform, wasn't it?
How about this? Who did tear it up? It's Summer League. Like, if you really look deeper into the box score, there are a lot of things to examine how a young player is being used. Sometimes they're being used in different positions. Sometimes they're being used to showcase their strengths. Sometimes they're being positioned to work on their weaknesses. There are different matchups out there. It's a new game, a new level. Some of these guys are first-time players. Then you got seasoned vets like Fareed and Beasley trying to hopefully make the Blazers. So I was happy to see the young fella out there balling. Killian Hayes, got to watch his development. Isaiah Stewart and Bay continue to develop those young players in Detroit.
One thing I loved seeing him on the NBA floor was just stood out to me was his height. He is tall for a ball handler. Like, he was using his length, his wingspan to get in the lane and kind of finish. I really like that aspect of his game. Do you think he can turn his height into a major advantage in the league?
Absolutely, Jacoby, and I like his poise and maturity. And that's something you really want as a face of a franchise caliber guy. And also in college, he proved to be clutch as well. So he's going to be a great player that in a lot of ways becomes a calming influence because you now have a face of the franchise. And again, I'm going to keep comparing this to what we saw with the Hornets once they added LaMelo Ball. You know you have something special, and then you just continue to build around that.
Jalen, I'm going to need some help. And it involves Doris Burke, who asked during the broadcast, what are Cartier buffs? So I need some Detroit to English translation. What are Cartier buffs?
Shout out to the D. I'll tell you, Cartiers are the glasses, extremely stylish. Buffaloes are a style. Buff is for short. Initially, we got introduced to them on a national scale from Coleman A. Young, who was the first black mayor of any major metropolitan city in the United States of America. You look back at his pictures, he had on the Cardis, he had on the Dobbs hat. And then obviously via street lore, unfortunately, a lot of people have been shot, have been killed, have been robbed wearing those glasses time and time again. And so it's the gift and the curse of, yes, they're extremely stylish, but there is a lot of pain for Detroiters behind those glasses in a lot of families because, unfortunately, a lot of people have suffered dearly by being robbed or killed by actually wearing those glasses.
But we're going to move on because this weekend was the Hall of Fame induction weekend in Canton. There was a very star-studded class: Peyton Manning, Troy Polamalu, Edgerrin James, Charles Woodson. And Jalen, one of the best speeches was from Edgerrin James, and here's what he had to say on Saturday.
People looked at my gold teeth and dreads and were shocked and surprised. I had never been under arrest or spent time in jail. So many people told me that you can't have dreads and gold teeth and be accepted in the NFL, but I never listened. I always knew who I was: a great football player, a great father, a proud black man, a lion. And this was my main. My career started with gold teeth and ended with this gold jacket.
Jalen, what do you think about his sentiments and this Hall of Fame class?
I was so very happy. First, shout out to Tony Dungy, whose fingerprints were all over this weekend as I watched Peyton Manning get inducted. Shout out to my brother, fellow Michigan Wolverine, Charles Woodson, who I've said, next to Deion Sanders, is the greatest cornerback to ever do it. At me on that, by the way. And then Edgerrin James. I considered him a friend, got a chance to break bread with him while we were in Indy, also in other locations. You know how much I love the U. And coming to Indy after Marshall Faulk was tough. For those people out there that don't remember Marshall Faulk playing, he was one of those first guys out of the backfield that was 1,000 and 1,000. You see Christian McCaffrey kind of doing that now. So Edge have to come in and replace him first off. And then second off, he talked about his appearance and how people, because he was from Florida, judged him on the way he looked, not necessarily on how he played. So to see the bust of Troy Polamalu with his hair, and to see Edge's bust with his hair, and for him to say, like he mentioned, go from rocking the gold teeth to rocking the gold jacket, it was really awesome to see these great players get celebrated. And last but not least, because I'm going to always celebrate my guy Charles Woodson, and he's a friend of the show, The next guy I'm getting on this show, you'll probably see at the JRLA golf outing. Can we run some Megatron highlights?
Megatron!
You know how much I love my Lions? I got a chance to see Barry Sanders play up close and personal. Arguably one of the most electric backs of all time. And you see Calvin Megatron catching over 2-3 people in traffic, giving a sense of pride every Sunday to the Detroit Lion faithful is well deserved, my brother. Salute. Thank you for all of the years putting on for my hometown.
One thing that stood out to me about this Hall of Fame weekend was too much Tom Brady. Like, you're not in the Hall of Fame yet, dog. You just won a championship. It's like you can't even have an NFL ceremony without Tom Brady taking over the storylines. This dude is everywhere. Too much Tom Brady this weekend. This is Peyton Manning's weekend, man. It's like showing up in white to a wedding. Moving on to a first pitch. Lil Durk had a meteoric rise recently in pop culture, and here he is throwing out the first pitch. Jalen, what do you think about Lil Durk's arm?
I want to also get him on the show. Troy and I have been talking about that forever because he loves sports as well. But here's my advice for Lil Durk or anybody throwing off the first pitch. Just think about not bouncing it. That's all you have to think about. Don't worry about throwing the strike. Don't worry about any of that. And by the way, that boy looked like Shohei with the left up
Let's
there.
see where you are. Well, that looked good. That looked good. Very hittable, but that's a strike. Very hittable, but that's a strike. Shout to
That
Jimmy.
was my second time doing it. Shout to my brother Jimmy King, no doubt.
Jalen, you know I'm a Die Easy fan, and right now, the NFL team that I'm a Die Easy fan of is the Buffalo Bills, and there's big news in Buffalo. They locked up Josh Allen. What does that mean for the rest of his quarterback class? Josh Allen to a 6-year, $258 million extension. Jalen, what does this mean for the Bills and for Josh Allen?
This means that we might be on the airplane with Conway the Machine, Fly Guy West Side Gun, and our guy Benny the Butcher. We might be flying on a private plane to go check out your Die Easy Bills play in the playoffs or the Super Bowl one day. What do you think about that, David?
I absolutely love Josh Allen. 45 touchdowns last year, does it through the air, does it on the ground. I think a lot of people sleep on his scrambling ability. And his accuracy last year, the leap that he made in accuracy from 2 years ago to last year, if he can continue that with Diggs and some of the weapons they have, and I love their defense, I love the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East. However, there are a lot of good teams in the AFC, two of which are the Browns and the Ravens, and their quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield, were also drafted at the same time. Do you think one of those two will get the next huge deal that Allen just got?
Oh, Lamar, no doubt about it. And the thing I like about Josh Allen is his physicality, Jacoby. He's just a football player playing quarterback. And the thing I also love about Lamar Jackson is I've never seen a quarterback be able to run and throw like this. Michael Vick is the first person that came to mind who was like a graduated modern day version of a Steve Young as a dual threat quarterback. But this guy's speed, and I think now it's going to be his ability to spread the football around. Anticipate Hollywood Brown having a big year. Hopefully Sammy Watkins can stay healthy and have a big year. They have a stout running game, including Lamar. He's going to have another terrific season, and people are going to be talking about the Ravens as contenders.
Yes, and I also want to say that when it comes to these three quarterbacks, Jackson, Mayfield, and Allen, it feels like Jackson and Allen have established themselves as deserving of these deals. To me, in my mind, Baker Mayfield still sort of has something to prove on the field before he ends up with one of these huge deals. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, but here's what you got to also realize. He's established himself as a starting quarterback, and whether Cleveland gives him top dollar or not, he's going to eventually get it. So there's something to be said for stability also. And I'm not going to act like Baker has shown me clearly that he's on the level of a Lamar or a Josh Allen. But for the Cleveland Browns, he seems like he's finding his way to be their guy. So if that's going to be the case, this year is going to validate it with a lot of their expectations this year. Getting Odell Beckham Jr. back, they have stout runners behind him as well. The Cleveland Browns are anticipating a big season, and I am too.
Well, Jalen, Luka is certainly the guy for the Dallas Mavericks, so much so that there are reports that the front office is getting on planes and traveling all the way to Slovenia to sign him to a huge 5-year, $200 million deal. See, I would do this over Zoom. I'm not flying to Slovenia to give you $200 million. I'm doing this over Zoom. What do you think about these reports?
You know how Luka that deal when he got a hookah Doncic out here, got him a little street lore happening. You got Mark Cuban and Dirk and Jason Kidd, the latter two Hall of Famers, flying wherever you are to make sure your deal gets signed, and rightfully so. He and Kristaps Porzingis are going to resemble more of what people anticipated this year than they did last year, because Kristaps Porzingis, as I discussed this with Jason Kidd, he's going to actively use him the way he was used in New York. And I know you like that in particular because that's where he gained the name Unicorn, in particular by being a guy at 7'3" that can score 20, but also catch lobs and get you a couple of blocks.
I really think the challenge for Cuban after getting this done is, like Dame and like Giannis, you have these superstars and you really have to put the right team around them. And I'm not sure that KP is the perfect complementary piece for Luka Doncic, but with Jason Kidd as the head coach, this year will sort of be a sink or swim year for this duo. Do you expect them to really challenge some of the top teams in the West?
I do. And shout out to my brother, The Truth, Paul, who coined him Don Luka. They re-signed my guy, Tim Hardaway Jr. He had a terrific season last year. But the West is extremely stout. And to your point, they're going to need one more all-star caliber player to me to catapult themselves into contention status in the Western Conference. But we saw it this year, Jacoby, with COVID, with injuries. We're going back to an 82-game schedule. There are crazy things that happen during the regular season because the Lakers, as an older bunch, they're not going to have a 1, maybe even a 2 seed. So that's going to leave room for teams like the Jazz and for the Denver Nuggets and all of those teams who are a lot younger that's going to play the marathon game. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out for the Mavs. But as long as you can get Luka signed, you do that immediately by all means.
I'm lazy. I wouldn't fly to Slovenia to give someone $200 million. You can fly to me to get your $200
yes, you
million.
Would. Yes, you would.
You can fly to me to get your $200 million. Jalen, we love young, exciting players in the NBA like Luka Doncic, but we especially love it when they're named Jalen, and Jalen Green looked good in his debut in Summer League for the Rockets. What are your expectations for this young man?
The thing I like about him the most as a guy that's gonna be able to score in the league off the dribble, off the catch, and transition and half court, I like his fearlessness. And you know what else I like, Jacoby? He stays on balance. Like so many times a young player is out of control literally because they're off balance. Look at that right there. That level of poise and balance. You see how they cut off the first move and then he just turned around and just made the jump shot with ease, the catch and shoot three. Look at his finish off the wrong foot at the hoop. He has all of the skills already. He's going to be a fantastic weapon for the Houston Rockets.
He is. And Jalen, coming up, we have a very interesting move from a freshly minted gold medal winner. Bam Adebayo doesn't just bring his medal to the game, he displays it. We'll discuss Sophomore Boss Move right after this.
Had to buy that thing a ticket.
Gold medal winner Bam Adebayo attended one of those Summer League games, and Jalen, he didn't just have the gold medal. He didn't wear the gold medal. He dangled the gold medal for everyone to look at. Jalen, soft move or boss move, dangling the gold medal in front of everybody.
That's definitely a boss move. As a matter of fact, he should have got the gold medal its own chair. Like, you know what? The gold medal is going to have its own chair. I love, like the great American philosopher David Jacoby taught me, that people don't celebrate enough. And the women's team, their video just gave me life.
I loved it.
Their dance video, post-celebration, gave me life. Like we give you life. See